Welcome to Blind Level Tech. I'm Jonathan Price.
I'm Evan Starnes.
And together, we're bringing you news, tech, and information about blind technologies.
Being blind doesn't mean you have to stop living.
We're going to show you just how possible it is to live the life you want. Sounded good, looking good. I mean, I can't see you, so you're looking even better.
Me too, but we'll go with it.
Oh, man. Well, the camera is not on, obviously. And so my camera's not on, obviously.
Yeah, I don't even have this lowly little studio doesn't even have a camera. I would have if I had recorded in F. And, well, now F has Goyo installed, so actually I could get around all the ventilation noises.
Yeah, that's right. We can. I love Goyo. It's such an awesome app.
Oh, it is a game changer. For a while, like when I very first got it, I was like, "What? How do I access these sliders? I can't figure this out." And then I figured out how to get around it, and I'm like, "Oh, it's only." Oh man, this is amazing!
I know.
And I literally, even if a publication sound or an audio piece sounds pretty good already, I put everything that I edit through Goyo now. Any voiceover work, just
for sure
through Goyo right there. It's so simple.
I spent a ton of money on Clarity from Waves, and I was like, dude, it's a great program, but it still adds artifacts to audio. And I was like, it's really good for what it did, but now that Goyo's come out, like, damn.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was just having that thought earlier. Like last week, I was playing with Hike Audio, and then I remember like talking to you like the very first time, and you talked about your Descript. Or not Descript, your Waves
Clarity
plugins and how, and Clarity, how you were able to like isolate crowd noise and stuff. And I'm like, that's really cool, but that's so out of my realm here because there's no way I can spend that much on plugins and
I know.
Goodness gracious. And now this Goyo comes out, and I mean, when it's fully released, it's going to be like what, 100 bones, 99 bones, and really
something like that.
Like if you take into account Audacity, which is free, and that I
know for some people that's a lot of money, but I mean, it's not that bad.
Considering that like full-fledged, like I bought Logic for $200, I think. Yeah. And I mean, but Logic is a full-featured program, but I mean, this might as well be because if you're apart from editing together words and adding intros and beds and sounds. And I mean, you still got to do a little bit of EQ if you want to perfect your audio and your sound profile, but it sounds good. And
it's nice to be able to take away that ambience. And if you're listening to this, you've obviously listened to this after it's been processed. And so right now, as I'm recording this, I've got my AC fan on blowing right down on me into the microphone. And I'm pretty sure that it's almost all the way gone. So it's pretty awesome.
I don't even hear it. I do hear a refrigerator and at the moment.
That's the humming. That's the AC, like refrigerator hum kind of going on. So it's that, and I'm sitting right next to my utility room, and this is recording while the AC is on. So this is going to be kind of a fun experiment. So we'll see how much it actually bleeds over into our actual recording. Anywho, how's your week? How was your weekend?
Weekend was uneventful. I sadly busted the cord to my robotic vacuum, so I need to get a new one of those. I always, at least on this show, always specifically focus on the tech crap, but that's because I deal with so much tech crap that it's mostly what I talk about.
Absolutely.
Been trying to get past this annoying little problem with my new computer, trying to boot from different drives. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as, function right or function left when after you hear the bong. You have to guess and you have to navigate this boot menu, and it's like, come on, Dell and Windows. Like, you guys could have done something better. And so that's been something I've been kind of dealing with. I got into a new game that my girlfriend's been playing. Shout out to her. It's almost our 1-year anniversary, which is really freaking cool.
Nice. Has it been a year already?
Yeah, it's been a year. Oh, man. But how was your weekend? What's new on your side?
It was fun. So my son had his first flag football game, and he was so nervous going to the game for the first time. He's like, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, buddy, you got this. You can totally do this. And he went out there, made a ton of friends, and he had a touchdown saving, I guess, quote unquote tackle. You don't really tackle in flag football, but he was able to keep the guy from scoring. He chased him all the way down the field and got him just before he crossed the goal line. So that was pretty awesome that we went crazy for that. And they won 26-7. So I was okay with that. And then went home and watched CU beat up on Nebraska. I was super excited about that. That was an epic game.
Oh, they got Deion Sanders. They can do anything.
Oh,
now.
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm a big football fan. I haven't been a college football fan. I used to be a big CU fan back in the late 90s when they were, relevant and they were winning national championships. But now that they have Deion and now they've changed the entire program, flipped it upside down, basically, I have enjoyed watching that process. And so it's been fun to watch. Watching that game was just fun. And I always love it when CU whoops up on Nebraska. So if you're a Nebraska fan, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to wait until next year to be relevant. Anyway, so actually funny story. When I was a kid, I used to want to play for Nebraska because they were big time. And I dreamed about playing for Nebraska. I don't even know why, because CU was still relevant and good. But I was like, my football career lasted until I got to college, and I had other things to do. Yeah. So, but that was awesome. And then watched the Bronco game, just kind of chilled out. And so, yeah, it was good. It was good. Nothing super exciting. But so before we get into today's show, I wanted to let the audience know. So here on BLT, we strive to make the best show possible. And we try to make our episodes fun and engaging. And we had an episode, AI and Assistance, that we put out a couple of weeks ago. And it's all on me, and I take full responsibility for this, that we went after an author that we didn't feel was... we didn't handle it as well as we should have. And I am so sorry for all of the I guess it came across as very bashing. And at the time we were so fired up because prior to that conversation, we were having a lot of issues with people who were, I guess, bad mouthing the community and who were being very ableist and very, I guess, put downish of the blind community. And then when this article came to me and I saw it, I was like, it wasn't very constructive. And so I want to apologize if the author had, heard the podcast, or if anybody was offended by the podcast. That was not our intention. We wanted to make sure that we were giving you information, and we should have been more in line with what the article was talking about, less about what the gentleman was trying to say. And so just wanted to apologize, put that out there. We are not in the shock radio genre on purpose. And we want to make sure that we are giving you the best tech advice, tips, tricks, information that you guys need, and try to keep the, I don't know if it's political speech out of it, but on one hand, we want to protect you and advocate for your rights as people who are blind, visually impaired. And that's not to discount any other disabilities, but we want to make sure that we are protecting you guys and speaking up for you on some of those issues. So again, from myself, Jonathan, and my partner, Evan, we apologize for any offense that may have happened. So, all right, moving on. We got that out of the way. So we've been talking about kind of speech recognition and how much fun it is. And I just, out of curiosity, tried to turn on my speech recognition or voiceover for my computer and just try to play with it a little bit and see how fast I could understand something that was being said. And I got up to about, I don't know if it's in a percentage rate, but I got up to about 65 before I was able to, I can't really understand what's happening. And it was super interesting. I was like, I can kind of understand this. This is great. And it's pretty quick. Evan, how fast is your voiceover?
My voiceover, and to clarify, you'd said speech to text here. What we're actually looking for is text to speech,
Sorry,
technical
yes.
technical term, just making sure we don't know. Yeah. But
Appreciate it. Yep.
My voiceover, it kind of hovers around the 80 to 90% range.
Okay.
And yeah, unfortunately, text to speech, yeah, they don't measure it in words per minute anymore. They used to back in the olden days. But yeah, about 85 to 90%. And that's with the Alex voice, because it can get complicated, because if you go to the eloquence text to speech, it gets really fast. That's a really, really, really fast. Like, you could speed that up to garble. And
yeah.
But yeah, mine's about 85, 90%. It's still fast. It's about as fast as those disclaimers you hear at the end of radio commercials. The messed up part is they do intend for those to not be as understandable, which is why they speed them up.
Right.
Of course, I can understand every single word of those, so I have the advantage, sightlings.
Right. So coming from somebody who's blind, and I know we're kind of going to blur the line between technology and how the brain, the neuroscience, and the chemistry works in a visual aspect.
Yeah.
And I love that the brain works in a particular way. Evan, when you think about speech recognition software, or I mean text to speech, and they're two different things, I understand that. But when you have text to speech and you're processing that information, how long did it take you? I mean, you've been blind since birth, but how long would you say on average somebody who maybe loses their sight gradually or is sudden onset, either from an accident or I think even in some cases of Stargardt's or retinitis pigmentosa, that vision can just eliminate almost overnight. So how quickly can you adjust your hearing to something like that?
It obviously depends on the person. For me, it took a couple of solid years of very gradually, and it was kind of a month to month. Like, once you feel like you're used to your phone the way, or your device the way it talks to you, and the pace at which it speaks, like you're fully familiar, like you know what to expect when you unlock that device or fire it up. That's when I usually speed it up, and it's in increments of like 5-10%. It's just small little steps.
So basically going through like the menu section is when you can speed it up?
Yeah, essentially.
Because I would assume that it would be different going from a menu that you're familiar with to like reading an article.
Oh, a menu.
Or reading a newspaper.
Or something I'm familiar with, I can speed up to almost 95 to 100%.
Yeah.
And that's like total, very, very, that's as fast as, it's very fast. It's stuff I'm not familiar with. Yeah, I tend to have it at that like 75, 80%, but it took me a good couple of years to get to that point. And it just, it happened after I got an iPhone, because I was exposed to it more than when I had an iPad. And it just took using the device day to day. And like, I didn't have a specific timeline, but whenever I felt like things were like just sounding a little too slow, I'd speed it up a little bit. I will definitely acknowledge that not everybody is going to feel that way, and you'll feel comfortable with your speed range. We're not saying, oh my gosh, everybody's got to speed up their voiceovers, and speed
to 100%.
Because plenty of people have been using iPhones for years, and and they like having their speech slower. I actually could have done it. I could have sped my speech up more, but I was kind of a text to speech snob back then, and I didn't like how it made text to speech sound. It kind of added a weird artifact to the voices that I was using at the time, but it doesn't now because of the because I'm using eloquence. But not everybody likes that, and people just aren't generally comfortable sometimes. But
so right before we got on, I was talking with Penn, and if you guys don't know Penn, she is our host for After Sight. Go check that show out. But we were talking and laughing about this conversation exactly about the rate of speech and how it can go from your voiceover to your on your phone and on your computer, to hearing somebody speak in real life and making that adjustment. You're like, man, I was just listening to somebody talk really, really fast, and now I have to slow down my speech so that now I'm hearing somebody talk in a very normal pace who might be quiet. And just the the ability to want to talk faster or get them to talk faster was very funny to her. What say you?
Yeah, I have kind of a similar adjustment. It's funny because when I'm listening to my voiceover speech, and this is less prevalent as I've been talking to more people, but like a couple of years ago when I'd listen to speech and then I'd go, like, even if I'd say something, I tend to even mimic my speech and talk very quickly sometimes, even on the show. But I would, I'd listen to recorded human speech or even, just somebody talking and they'd sound almost not drunk, but their speech would just sound so slow and it took a good 3 or 4 minutes for my brain to kind of switch back into that normal listening.
Like recalibration?
Mode. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you're trying to deal with people who are talking slowly or they're not talking as fast as you would like them to, what's going kind of through your mind? And not to like make fun of anybody who talks slow, but we all have different rates of speech. And some of us can talk really fast if we want to, or really slow. For me, when I hear somebody talking slow, even as a sighted person, I want to be like, okay, let's go. And it feels, I feel very impatient, but understanding that patience is kind of a virtue.
Patience is a virtue, Jonathan. Did you forget that?
My mom used to sing a song, and it goes like this. We hated it as a kid. So if you had a parent who sang this song, and hopefully it's just my parent, it goes like this. Have patience, don't be in such a hurry. When you get impatient, you only start to worry. Remember that God is patient too, and think of all the times when others have to wait for you. And I was like, anytime she would start, even now, as she starts singing that, I'm like, oh.
This mic's I'm going to have to recalibrate this mic. I think I'm actively like cringing right now. But to answer your question, so when I'm listening to somebody talk and they're talking, at a slower pace, this might just be the way my brain works, and this might actually be something else, but I tend to finish people's sentences a lot. In fact, I do it all the time, and I don't even realize it. In fact, I've probably done it on some BLT episodes. And
at least 4 or 5 times today.
I remember those times too. And there'll probably be another time at which I do it. But, I'll be listening and a million things are, all right, here we go. This is neurology with Evan here. But
there you go.
Yeah, like when I'm listening to somebody, I never have a clear head. A million things are always going through it, a million miles a minute. Yeah. And I'm always planning for like, what am I going to do next? And whatever song's been playing is definitely stuck in my head, and probably like maybe a quarter, like maybe about like quarter to half volume in the mix. So it's kind of, it's a little up there, and sometimes, the slider just gets way maxed out and drowns everything out. But yeah, I filter people's I finish people's sentences a lot. And sometimes it's not what they said, and it can completely derail the conversation.
I'm glad that you brought up the neuroscience aspect of it, because I was reading this article and I sent it to you, and we're not doing an article review, but there was something in it that was super interesting to me. And I'm going to butcher this. It's from the Scientific American, and it comes out of this research from the University of Tübingen in Germany. It's Tubingen in Germany.
Tübingen.
And I'm going to read this little excerpt, and then I'm going to dive into some of the very interesting neuroscience stuff that I know behind the scenes. It says this hyperactive radio announcer spewing fine print at the end of a commercial jabbers at about 10 syllables per second. So you guys know at the end of car commercials or insurance commercials or whatever, it's just the absolute limit of comprehension that's the 10 syllables per second is for sighted people. However, blind people can comprehend speed up to 25 syllables per second. So I wanted to try it. And I was like, nope.
Can't
That
do it.
was interesting. Human beings cannot talk faster than this. The scientist had to use a computerized synthesizer to generate speech at this speed. It sounds like noise. Ingo Hertrich, Hertrich, one of the scientists involved in the research, told me, I can't understand anything. Maybe it sounds like some strange foreign language spoken very rapidly. And so I'm going to play this 16-second clip. And if you can hear this and you're blind, obviously you're going to understand it. But for me, I had no idea what this was. So here's the example of this recording. See, that's just like so fast to me. I can't like physically understand it. Evan, were you able to understand that?
I was, but it's what I'm used to. I will acknowledge too that not everybody who is blind will understand it. So
Right.
It might,
And that was an example at 16 syllables per second.
So yeah, that's pretty quick, but not like some, I imagine some people have their set to like 20 to 24.
Yeah.
I'm glad they gave us a metric there too.
Yeah. Well, so here's what's interesting, and here's what I've learned through some of the research that I've been doing around this topic. And because I'm a neuroscience, I love neuroscience. It's just very fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. What I learned and I actually learned this from a doctor who specializes in dyslexia, is that when you read, let me back up. When you're seeing something, you're seeing a landscape or you're taking visual information in, if you're sighted, you see all these colors, you see cars, you see trees and birds, and you're processing that information in a particular way, a different part of your brain. However, when you're reading, even though you think I'm looking at words, it's actually an auditory part of the brain that processes the reading information, which is why there are only there's few people who can speed read and read, those pages that fly by like it seems like the speed of light. Mm-hmm. And so for those people, it becomes an auditory thing. And so what's interesting is that when you have a visual component translated into an audio format, it makes sense that people who are blind and who are using that audio already can seem like it's very enhanced, I guess, in a way, almost to like a superpower. Like,
that's how they portrayed it in the article. I actually did read.
Yeah.
I read the majority of that article actually before recording this show. And what was interesting, is they had mentioned that the visual cortex of the brain physically is rewired to to the auditory. And honestly, as a blind person, somebody who's been blind since birth, and I don't take any ableist or stereotypical stuff.
Sure.
In fact, I usually shoot it down as quickly as I can. For the longest time, if people said, "Oh, your senses must be heightened," I'm like, "Yeah, you're no, stop it right now, just for the sake of me and everybody else in this blind community, stop it."
Yeah, because
it seemed to me like they're just trying to make us sound like we, the way I portrayed it is, "Oh, we feel bad for you, so let's make it sound more
right.
Let's make it sound like that's how I'd portrayed it. I hope that's making sense to some listeners here, but
in reality, what is it?
In reality, if my brain, because my visual part isn't, the visual cortex of my brain is not physically being stimulated by visual signals.
Yeah.
If my brain really is getting physically rewired, then there is something to be said. Yes, and there is something to be said about that, because it's something that nobody else really has, and it is an advantage. I mean, being able to listen to spoken content at such a speed is an advantage. Yeah, it's unique, and so it really does kind of. It made me kind of question, all the years and years of hearing that phrase. And
sure,
I don't believe personally that because, I'm blind, that my my lost, I hate that word. I apologize if I offend anybody here, but I don't know how else to word it. But my lost sight went to my ears and nose and everything else. You know,
Sure. But that's not. I don't know that that's something to be take offense to, because when you lose your vision or you lose your hearing, your senses as a survival instinct heighten when you take one of them away. It's just natural biological thing. So in a sense, you do like gain superpowers. You do have heightened
senses. You really, in a way you do. It's not like, I'm not going to ever, unless some magical new technology comes out, I won't have like hearing of a dog or a cat super sharp and sensitive, but we do tend to notice more of the world around us through what we hear. Like, you brought up the concept of a parking lot. When you go into a parking lot and you see all the stuff around you, well, when I get out of an Uber in the parking lot, well, first of all, when I'm thinking is how quickly can I walk away so nobody asks me if I need help? No, I'm just kidding. But that is kind of true for me for now.
Sure.
Usually when I get out of a car, let's take, more crowded parking lot near a busy intersection. You hear all of the cars going behind you. If there's an intersecting street to your right, you hear them going over your shoulder. You hear cars entering and exiting the parking lot. I'm sure people can even visualize that right now. You hear the cars and you hear people walking past you, in front of you. You hear doors opening and closing. You hear, and this is actually like stuff that certain programs teach you when you first, if you first lost your vision, when you go out there, that's stuff they teach you. They'll even say, like, pay attention to such and such sounds. Like when I went on like my first travel class, they were like, we're going to, want to say it was Target. And, they're like, listen for the sound of the automatic doors, which they make a very distinctive sound over anything else.
Yep.
And, when we're in the store, like, you can find out where the cash register is directionally through the beeps of the cash register. So, yes, I mean,
it becomes not necessarily a heightened hearing, because when I think of heightened hearing, I think of heightened frequency range, all the way down from like 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz and beyond. But what it really is, it's a more perceived hearing. It's a more soundscape hearing. You can hear more detail in your environment rather than higher frequency range. And I think that's something that people have to distinguish, because you can hear more, I guess, auditorily, like a dog barking in the park farther away, or you can hear more spatially because our eyes are playing that trick on us from a visual perspective of what is around us. So we don't need that, I guess, proximity effect.
But I have it
in our hearing.
I actually do have the proximity effect.
Yeah.
Which had to be taught. Like, personally, it is possible, and I'm not going to say I can do this too, but I want to say it's possible to be able to hear, like, if you're on, a sidewalk with somebody, to hear how far away they are in front of you and exactly where they are, and whether they're centered slightly off to your right or left.
Well, that's what we talked about last week with Jenny Owens when she was following me hiking. And
exactly.
She was using echolocation.
Exactly. We talked about it quite a bit in that episode, but I don't, so like heightened, that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to, hear what my, well, since I'm at AINC's office here, I'm in a studio. I'm not going to be able to hear what Kim's saying in her office. That would be creepy. But, I do you do notice those little nuances. Like, you can hear, you can get to the point where you can hear if somebody silently walks into a room because you can feel the air move.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Feeling the air and the pressure around you, and you can just feel it bounce differently. And that's something that's so interesting too about hearing, is that many people don't know that is one of the most intimate forms of contact you could possibly have with somebody. Because think about it like this. If I speak, now I'm speaking into a microphone, but if I'm in the same room as somebody else, if I speak, I am physically moving air molecules, and those air molecules are bouncing all over the room, and they're hitting other air molecules. And eventually that sound wave and those air molecules go into your ear, tickle the fibers in your ear. So in a sense, I am physically touching you and physically manipulating what you hear, and it gives a distinct characteristic. And that's those receptors become heightened in how we talk. And that is something that is so beautiful to me. So let me say this on behalf of a sightling. Your auditory superpower is something to be celebrated. Don't discount it because it's natural to you. It can be something that you kind of become accustomed to. Like, Evan, what you were saying is, like, you don't want somebody to say, well, you must have a superpower. You read really fast, or listen to things really fast, or hear a lot of stuff. It's something to be celebrated. Your brain just did something so that you could survive in a new way. It's kind of cool.
It really is cool. And I mean, if we were, back in the prehistoric times, we could definitely, I feel like we'd definitely be even more adapted to our environment because we wouldn't have access to all of these technologies. I'm sure if I could, and this is just from Evan, from me, Evan, if I lost, if I was born blind in a world not catering and I didn't even have a cane, I'm sure I could confidently and easily figure out how to live normally, get around, and do everything. Because that's all we're trying. And that's why, I get why people, get offended at sightlings for asking things, because we're so used to just, this is our normal life. We're just going about our day. We don't want to be disturbed. And anything that makes us, at least for me, anything that makes us stand out in any unusual way from anybody else is embarrassing and degrading and all sorts of other things.
Yeah. Well, we have so many animals in the animal kingdom that are blind who
bats, man,
physically fly and they can hear bugs flying and they swoop in through the air and they're blind. And they're eating and they're managing not hitting each other and running into each other. And it's incredible. So that's an adaptation right there.
And species biological evolution is a real thing. We could easily evolve if all of a sudden, the world became a non-visual place, completely auditory. There have been movies about that in the past. We would absolutely be able to adapt to being able to not having that visual element, basically.
Yep.
100%.
Well, I know we kind of went in a very different direction than we started, but it was fun. I enjoyed that.
Hope you guys did too. It was fun. We love going down these rabbit holes with you here on BLT. It's it's a nice way, because we record these usually kind of near the end of the day. It's a good way to wind down the day and just kind of take it easy. Hoping in the future, too, we did get some new exciting guests, but of course, I will not spoil that at all.
No, don't.
Don't want to do that.
No.
But we hope you've enjoyed listening to this particular episode, and we hope you found it educational, motivating, whatever you could think of. And I guess do you mind if I close out this episode?
Go for it. But first, we almost forgot.
Oh, we did.
What's your sandwich, man?
Yeah, my sandwich. Well, this week it's going to be, because last week we did the smokestack. So, that was a delicious one. But this week I'm feeling a good old tuna sandwich from Subway.
Okay.
Nothing super fancy, just a nice 6-inch. But I love tuna, and I love putting onions and I'm a big sucker for tuna. So,
all right.
What's your thoughts on tuna?
I have a love-hate relationship with tuna. I grew up with a lot of canned tuna, and it was in everything. It was in the mac and cheese. It was in sandwiches. I
could see that, man.
I'm just kind of tired of tuna. And so my sandwich of the week is going to be a classic chicken teriyaki. Throw some red onion on there, a little soy sauce. Oh, toast that sucker.
We got Snarfs outside. It makes me want to go to Snarfs.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, close out the show.
All right. Well, for Blind Level Tech, this is your co-host, Evan Starnes, and of course, joined by the one, the only Jonathan Price here today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please check out all of our other original podcasts and our audio publications if you're an AINC listener. But, we got After Sight, we got Blind Sight, we got Navigating Life with Vision Loss, and we got my monthly volunteer spotlight. So give those shows a listen. They're fun and they're good podcasts. Anyway, with that being said, I'm Evan. This is Jonathan. We'll see you next week.